Hello, I'm Tony DeMaria, the editor of JACC, here to bring you some highlights. And the first one I'd like to talk about deals with quality of life in patients who are undergoing transcatheter aortic valve implantation, TAVI, or some people call it TAVR for replacement. And of course, TAVI is a very exciting new procedure that's done primarily in elderly individuals who are either not candidates for surgical aortic valve replacement or very high-risk candidates. And so in this group of elderly individuals, quality of life is very important relative to length of life. So in this study from Great Britain, 102 patients with aortic stenosis who were not candidates for surgery are reported in the one-year period following TAVI. And what's observed was that quality of life actually increased at 3 months and was further increased at 6 months following the TAVI. Now, it remained constant and was sustained for 1 year. So these data are very encouraging, and they provide an indication that doing this procedure doesn't just prolong life, but increases the quality of that life that's increased. Now, the second paper deals with the mechanism by which obesity can contribute to atherosclerosis, and the relationship between obesity and atherosclerosis has been known for some time, but the mechanism remains unclear. And so this particular study analyzes resistin, which is an adipokine that's increased in patients with obesity, but one for which the precise function is not yet defined. So what these individual investigators did was to take human hepatocytes and to treat them with serum with and without resistin. And what they observed was that resistin reduced the LDL receptors in these hepatocytes by 40%. The mechanism of this reduction was by increasing that enzyme PCSK9, that's an inhibitor of the LDL receptor. So that in addition to this, resistin also decreased the ability of statins to stimulate an increase in LDL receptors. So it may well be that resistin is an important mechanism by which obesity exerts its adverse effects on atherosclerosis. It's probably an attractive target for therapy. The last study I'd like to present to you deals with the best way to measure renal function in patients with heart failure. There's a number of approaches: Cockcroft-Gault, the MDRT, modification, diet, and renal disease, or lastly, the CKD-EPI, named after the epidemiologic collaborators equation. And 925 patients with chronic heart failure were studied. All three were very good, but Cockcroft-Gault was just a little bit better. So in our heart failure patients, that's probably the best approach to use. For Inside JACC, I'm Tony DeMaria.